Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we are on page 6. And so you need to make sure your pockets are opening to the left and right. And then we're going to have a pocket that goes directly to the bottom, and then we're going to have another pocket tuck spot that goes in right on above it. And we did the same thing on page 3. So page 3 and page 6 are the same, and I think I misspoke in the original. On the page 3, I said page 3 and 7, but it's 3 and 6. And part of the reason I like this simple design for page 6 is there's a little bit going on page 4 and 5, and there's a pocket there, and we're going to have some stuff in it, so that page is going to get kind of heavy. So I want to do something relatively simple on page 6, which is what we're doing. Okay, so the measurements for this pocket is 4.5 by 9, 4.5 by 9, and you're going to score on 3 sides. And it's going to get attached directly to the bottom of page 6. The second pocket is going to be inserted like so. We are not going to close the bottom of the second pocket. We're going to leave it open so that when we put something through, it'll pass all the way through to the length of the page. This is 2.5 by 9, 2.5 by 9. And the way to make it so that it'll slip inside that pocket is we're going to miter these 2 corners. And what you're going to do is you're going to measure off a 1/2 inch from the bottom of the paper on both sides, and then you're just going to miter those 2 corners. So put a tick mark a half inch up from the bottom, and then we're going to just cut from that mark down. When you open it up, you'll see that you have a little bit of flange left over. Just trim that flange out of the way, and it's going to get laid down just like so. And I'm just going to dry fit one more time, and it's going to fit in just like this. Now, when I put my little marks on where I'm going to trim it, that 1/2 inch mark, I left a little bit of a lead there, so I went ahead and erased that off, and I'm ready to install this. Now, if this isn't real clear, page 3, I go over this, and I actually trim it. But I was doing both at the same time when I was setting up, so I've got both of them trimmed out. Okay, just double checking that it all fits the way I expect it to. So the hardest part about this is getting this pocket to go in straight. And the only reason it's difficult is because the way I was holding on to it, I was holding on to the tape, so I went to take my fingers off the tape, and it causes it to move around a little bit. So I'm going to do a better job and not actually hold on to the pocket by the tape, but hold on at the top and gently push this in until I reach the top of my mitered edge, and then I'm going to lay it down. And that worked out much better than how I did it on page 3. So like I said, if you're holding onto the tape, when you go to take your hand away, sometimes it'll torque on you. So that's it, just these 2 pockets here. So there's a pocket here and a pocket here. Okay, 4.5 by 9, 2.5 by 9. You're only going to score 2 sides along the 9-inch side for the top pocket, and you're going to score 3 sides on the bottom pocket, because you want to gusset on the bottom and the sides. Okay, so that is page 6. I'm going to take a break, line up my paper, make sure everything's inked and dry fit, and then we will decorate this page. Hey everybody, it's Daphne, and we're on to page 6. And I've got my papers laid out, and I did the same thing as I did on page 3, where I took an 8 by 8 and then I just made it a little bit narrower so it'll fit nicely on here, and then I split it into these 3 pieces to cover our pockets. And I again started from the bottom and then sliced up, and this should work out to be just about right. Yeah, perfect. So I think I've got everything inked and ready to go, so this is going to go in very quickly. Very simple page. Okay, now I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to turn it sideways so I can see that it's going into the pocket. Look, a little contrast here. Looks good. Okay. Okay. Of course, you want to make sure you get your orientation right. I almost laid this down like this. That would have kind of ruined the whole idea of the page. So double check your orientation before you lay anything down. And again, we're on page 6. Okay, so there we go. And now I'm going to make 2 quick inserts that are going to go in here. I may add some graphic 45 tags also. So the first one's going to be a 5x7. And I'm going to come back and cover these inserts after I finish doing the rest of the book, because I don't want to use up my designer paper just yet. I want to make sure I have enough of it, and I can always use pieces for this. Okay, and the other one, the top pocket is going to have a 7x7 insert. And of course you could make these any size you want, but I was going for this sort of staggered look between the pockets. So that is page 6. Okay, next time we get together, we'll start working on page 7. Be back soon. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we are working on page, what page are we working on? Page 7. Where is it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 page. Here it is, sorry. I'm looking for my blank page. Here it is, page 7. And page 7 is going to be, going to make sure that our pockets are left and right, is going to be the same as page 2. And this is page 2. So we've got this feature that opens up and then down. And I haven't put my B-sides in, but I wanted to show that to you real quick so you know where we're headed here. So the first thing I'm going to do is lay down these 2 strips. They're going to be the outside edges. And then the rest of the feature is going to get centered here, and we'll construct the feature after we glue these down. And where did these come from? I'm not sure. I have to think about it. I'm not sure if these are 8x8 or I'm gonna find out real quick for you guys. I want to be able to tell you if it's the 8x8 or the 12x12. And it's the 8x8. So these came from the 8x8. In fact, this whole thing came from the 8x8. That's right. So I took this image as the centerpiece. And then if you flip it over, it's got this on the flip side, right? And I knew this needed to be 5 1/4, so I trimmed off 2 edges, and I'm just going to use the reverse side. So this is just one of the 8x8 sheets. And this feature is really kind of cool. It's a little bit deceptive. It takes a lot of designer paper because we're going to have 8 photo mats inside, 4 on each, the top and 4 on the bottom of the design feature. So even though it doesn't seem like we're using a lot, it's a little bit deceptive. So you need at least one 8x8 just to cover the top of the mechanism and the 2 sides. and then you'll need a total of 8 photo mats. And I think they're 4 by 5 1/4, but I'll tell you that in a minute. Okay, it goes like that. All right, now I'm gonna double check this fits just right, and it does. Okay, I'm gonna set that aside. So you're gonna start with 2 5 1/4 by 8, 2 5 1/4 by 8. And then you're gonna need 2 5 1/4 by 9, 5 1/4 by 9. And you're gonna score at 1/2 inch, 4 1/2 inches, and 8 1/2 inches. You're gonna fold it in half, and then you're gonna fold the 2 1/2 inch flanges out, okay? These are gonna get applied to this, which will be the base, and then the other one will be the top, and you're going to place the tape toward each other. So you're gonna take the scored edge and go to the edge of your base page right here, like so, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the tape. I'm gonna marry up these 2 scored edges with the edge of this base, which again is 5 1/4 by 8. 5 1/4 by 8. Okay, it's gonna go in just like that. Now we're gonna take this one and do the same thing. Maybe. I don't know why I'm not using my pick tool. Okay, I'm gonna start by laying down the outside edge and then just pushing toward the center. I have the best luck with that, but everybody has their own techniques. Okay, so now we have this back piece, so we're halfway done. So we need to put a top piece. So this piece is gonna lay right on top, and again, this is your second 5 1/4 by 9 inch piece. And all we're doing is putting a cover on this, so we just want it to line up nice and evenly, side to side, corner to corner. And that looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna carefully roll it forward and take my tape backing off. While holding it all in place. Okay, that's on. Now we're gonna do the same thing this way. It's a little easier since it's already in place. Pull off the tape backing. And the key to laying this down is to make sure this is flat, completely closed, and then try to hold this tab into place and then smooth it down as you go forward. And that's it, okay? There you go. Now it's time to add our magnets. And as we did on the previous one, which was page 2, we're gonna use 3 magnets. We're gonna use one on top. One here. We're gonna skip this. We're gonna have one here and one here. So okay, so that is the top magnet and the base magnet. And now we're going to add one more here. And we're just going to close everything. And there we go. There's our 3 magnets. Now we're going to flip the whole thing over and repeat that process. I'm actually going to do it the opposite way. I'm going to start with the lowest magnet first. And then I'm going to place the second magnet. go. And then we need just one more magnet. And this should hold everything. And I had mentioned it previously, it's just so many layers of paper to go through. I don't think 2 would hold it. And so I'm just finding this magnet, and then I'm just gonna press it into place. Okay, there we go. So there's 3 on each side, and that is that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and put my mat down. Let's see, this is page 7, 8, okay. Let's lay this. This is from the 8x8 collection I mentioned earlier. I haven't used this design feature in a while. I think it's a lot of fun. I honestly can't remember where I first saw it. It's definitely not my idea. It's not original design by me. I believe it was a card maker, but honestly I can't remember. If you're stumped for ideas, that's a great place to look. Sometimes just looking at cards, people do some pretty cool things with cards and features in cards. To use, you know, as an element inside your book, either for a page or just even an element on your page. There we go. That is that. I'll try to get in here, open this up, and burnish this into place. There we go. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take a break and get my papers ready. So we're going to need 8 photo mats, 4 for each side, and here it is. Let's see. There need to be 5 1/8. 5 1/8 by 3 7/8 is what we need. So we need a total of 8 of those. So I am going to take a break, get that all in order. That's right side up because I'm looking at the word. And when I come back, they'll be inked and ready to lay into this design feature. And I hope you guys like it. I think it's a neat feature. Okay, thanks everybody. I'll be back soon with the B-side of this feature. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we are working on page 7 here. So I took a break, and we've come back, and we're gonna work on the B-side of this pop flip mechanism. And just a minute. Excuse me. Ooh, I knew that was coming. Sorry about that. So I've got my pieces ready. They're inked. I trimmed them out, and I think we are ready to go. So we're going to open our mechanism, and we're going to start down here. And I think I've got them even in the order I'm going to lay them out. Yeah. Excuse me. So all of these pieces on the B side here, at least on this side, and I have to double check, yeah. On this side, these are all from the 8x8 collection. And you can tell by the scale of the bird cage here, it's pretty easy to tell. And by looking at the back side of this, you can tell it's 8x8. Well, I burnished it and then forgot to take the backing off. So I've noticed in a couple of my videos recently that somehow I'm drifting out of frame, so I apologize for that. And I just was checking just now to make sure that I'm in frame, but it happens once in a while. The way I'm set up, I do all my recording on my phone, and in order to get most of this in frame, the phone has to be quite high, and I can't see what's going on the phone. And I have not taken the time to figure out how to set it up so that whatever's on my my phone screen is mirrored on an iPad in front of me, so I don't know when I drift out of frame. So if it's happening, I apologize, but I will start routinely checking to make sure that I'm not. And then at some point I do need to take some time and figure out how to do that. I think it's just a cable and I just haven't done it. I never use my iPad. I couldn't make the transition from a laptop to an iPad. I need a keyboard. Something's wrong with my fingers. I can't seem to get my pad on iPads and the swipe stuff, and I get frustrated. I'd just rather have a keyboard. Okay, and you can tell this is a continuous pattern that was split right there. And again, these are all from the 8x8 collection pack. I'm going to turn this around so I can get closer. I don't like to lean into the workspace. For one thing, you see the top of my head, but it's also just hard to get things laid down straight the further away from you they are. So rather than go to your project, bring your project to you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and sharing their time with us here at Scrap and Create. I'm getting so many nice comments. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate that you guys come over and take a look at our shop and do some shopping there. And we've got a lot of new customers and we're very thankful for that. For those of you out of country who can't shop with us, we still appreciate you being here on the channel with us. And the one thing you can do to help us, even if you can't shop in our shop, is if you take a minute to leave a comment, like, share, subscribe. That really goes a long way to exposing us to other like-minded crafters on YouTube. And so that might bring us some new subscribers that can shop in our shop. So we really appreciate it if you take a minute to do that. Those actions really please the YouTube gods and move us up in their ranking as far as recommendations. So it doesn't cost anything. If you could do that, we'd really appreciate it. So as a policy, I also want to share with you guys that all of our tutorials are free. They'll always be free. Also, that if you start a project with us, you'll be able to finish a project with us. We will never take a tutorial offline. It's our intent to put it out there and leave it out there unless YouTube asks us to disposition something. And the only reason they would do that is if we had a copyright infringement, which for the most part, we check all of that before we release it. But, you know, things happen. Sometimes things sneak in there that we're not aware of. I've had to take a video down once before because somebody in my house was playing music in the background and I wasn't even consciously aware of it. And it was caught by YouTube, so I had to take that off and then remove all the audio before I could re-release it. So short of anything like that, our projects will remain online, so you can start a project and know with confidence that you'll be able to finish it whenever you have time. And as of this date, we have over 50 completed projects with accompanying tutorials available on our channel. And that's pretty good. That's a lot of projects. And by and large, they're mini albums, different size mini albums, but mini albums. All right. I love it when I have a chance to dry fit and ink everything before we get together because it just goes so smoothly. But please know that this is not how it happens. I mean, there's a whole lot of checking, rechecking, and trimming that happens before I sit down with you guys. So if you feel like you're spending a lot of time double checking, I do too. I just don't do it all on camera. Okay, I'm gonna slide this down so I can get closer to it. This is really pretty, but I sometimes will take the simpler image just because it's not competing so much with any photograph that you put on it, although that's very beautiful paper. It's very hard to cover up. But I wouldn't have any trouble at all putting a photo on this. So I also, as a rule of thumb in my design process, and I think this is pretty common for most mini album makers, is I tend to take the simpler pattern and put it on the B side, because that's where your photos are going to be. It is highly unlikely that you'll put a photo here. I mean, this is just meant to be decorative. You still could. You could put a round photo right inside here. But for the most part, I put the larger images that I'm not expecting to cover on the A side and the simpler patterns on the B side where I know I'll put photos. So it's just something to think about as you're designing your own albums and trying to decide which side, the A or the B, that you want to lay down. And then I also know mini album makers that make mini albums and never put pictures in them because they just want to look at the pretty papers. And that is okay too. And honestly, I have at least a half a dozen like that where I just like the paper so much I still haven't been able to put photos in it. And that's okay. That's a rewarding experience, just flipping through your own projects. There we are. Beautiful. Burnish that into place. I always pay a special attention of making sure that I've glued completely around the magnet. The magnet does create a little bit of lift, so you want to make sure you get around both sides of it. That's the other reason why I like to put tape on it. Oops, that's not right. So it was trying to close like this, and what we want is for it to close like that. Okay. So let's look at it one more time. That's one side. There we go. And that is the end of page 7. Okay. When we get back, we'll be working on page 8. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, this is Daphne from Scrap and Create. Please take a minute to like, share, subscribe. And again, thank you for sharing time with us here at Scrap and Create. Be back soon.